we don't put up with it. We don't put up with the old paradigm. And yet we don't know how to access or create a new paradigm, the paradigm I call partnership.
Hello, dear heart. Welcome to the Flourishing Practitioners podcast, where we talk all things about space holding, caring for our clients, and succeeding in our businesses. We explore the wisdom from coaches, counselors, and healers. My name's Gabrielle Walker, and I'm so honored that you're here. Let's dive in.
Good morning, beloveds. It's Saturday morning. I'm all about learning how to listen to my own rhythms and structures and hear what feels true for me in the moment. And this wisdom that Alison Armstrong shares in this podcast is very true for me. I have been engaging with her work since 2017, when my friend Beck Tamacha, who I mentioned on the podcast, gifted me the Queen's Code when I think I just started engaging with dating apps, and it was doing my head in. Prior to that, I've been in a relationship where obviously dating apps didn't exist. And I came out of them and was just like, oh my God, what is this situation? I know nothing about nothing. So I was starting to look into the dynamics of masculine and feminine. I've landed in the space of exploring who I am as a person, how I sit with all that. But the beautiful thing about Alison's work, which is why it warms my heart so much, is I have, as well as having engaged with her work to support my journey dating, I've also since finding my partner engaged with the work with him. And we've listened to her work together, and particularly in sync with the opposite sex. And it was a real beautiful thing to get to listen to this particular recording together. Those things mean a lot to me, to be seen and heard in my explorations and the spaces that I'm growing, rather than only as the role that I play occasionally in the healing that we do. On that note, though, I will do a little ping that on the 9th and 10th of November, we're having our next midi, so bodywork trainings. And then the one after that is the 16th and 17th, which is the Romi training here in Boorloo, Perth. There's also some options circling in Brisbane for February 2025, and then Aotearoa again in 2025. So if you're in any of those places and feel the pull, feel free to reach out. And yeah, let's dive in. I'm so excited for you to meet Alison, getting to be in her presence. What a beautiful human, what a beautiful woman. And I am so grateful she's done what she's done, and that I have been able to learn healthier relational strategies, healthier relational patterns, healthier relational ways of being, how to trust myself. And yeah, so I hope you enjoy her as much as I do.
And I'm just going to tell you this because I've been dying to tell you this ever since it happened yesterday. So my husband died a little over 5 years ago, and I, almost exactly 5 years ago, went to a place in Hawaii on the island of Kauai called the Lauai International Center. And it is this physical place is the source of all the healing energy in the Hawaiian Islands. And it did something to me. So I was there's a Buddhist temple there because it was founded by Buddhists, although it's not any particular denomination. And this energy came up through the floor of the temple, through my back, and connected with, for lack of a better way of saying it, this crater in my chest that my husband had literally like plowed into and made a space and curled up like the way a dog or a snake would inside my body 3 months after he died. So this energy from the temple connected with this space in here, and it created what I have thought of as a portal. Like it made there's a word for it in irrigation and stuff, but it made a culvert through my body for this incredible energy. And I am not in control of it. It has something to do with wholeness and what is meant to be and not meant to be. and the two different hands will operate differently. One will, it feels like electric shocks coming out of it. I call it the disruptor. And the other just like fills people up. And I don't control it. If it can help, they respond. If they can't help, they don't. I just have ordinary hands. And when I was intrigued by your last name, and I was like, that's so interesting. And so I went and looked you up, and I went to your site, and I was reading about you and what you've done in your journey. And these hands got redder and redder and redder, like this deep, deep, deep red as I was reading about you. They're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like they just wanted to, it doesn't really show. It's so orange. It's much redder than this. The light is funky, but they just wanted to be with you. Like, could not wait to be with you. And I mean, there's lots of people in the world who know me for my work and understanding men and women, and it's very logical, practical, all that stuff. But it really has at its heart of it. Something I was told about 30 years ago, Alison, you heal with ideas. And that was before the hands lit up. And my husband had healing hands. And besides being an accountant and a motorcycle rider and a musician, he would do my body. He would work on my body like almost every day. And after he died, it felt like he was doing it constantly. I was never in pain for a month after he died. I had no pain. It was like I was constantly, stunning. Do anything you want to do. I'm just so happy to be with you and glad you're on the planet.
Thank you so much. Likewise. I'm so grateful for your work. And my friend gave me your book in 2017, who's actually passed now. And Back to Marcio is her name, so I just wanted to honor her. And so I felt like feeling her a lot this morning and the gratitude for her. And at the time when I read it, it was the Queen's Code, which you have in the background there on this recording. But I was quite resistant to it. I was like, what? I grew up in this my mum is like not outwardly feminist, but very like women's empowerment and equality. And I was like, what? I don't know. And then over time, as I navigated that, I was like, oh, that's really interesting. I'm curious about what's inspiring you now in this moment.
Oh my gosh. Well, when I started, and I'm not exaggerating, I really thought it would take 2 or 3 months to learn everything worth learning about men. Because I was certain, absolutely certain, it was just true. Men are shallow. They're superficial. They have no feelings, so it doesn't matter what I do. I can't hurt them. They're obviously lesser human beings than women. Obviously. Duh. And I questioned if they had souls. Maybe little ones. I really thought that. And I never committed to studying them. I just had found out that I was bringing out the worst in them, like Kimberly in the Queen's Code. And I wanted to know how I was doing it. I was very excited that I was bringing out the worst in them because the alternative was they're terrible. This is just who they are. And so I wanted to find out how I was antagonizing them. And then I became fascinated because everything I learned about them when I set out to learn about them was so different than what my mother had taught me, what our culture said about men, what my own evidence seemed to validate, not knowing how much it was filtered, right? That we really can only see what we're seeking. It just works that way, which is why such simple things can make a difference. Like instead of, does he love me? Does he truly love me? Right? It's a question that plagues people. Just add how. How does he love me? Because your mind will, I don't think he loves me. And I'll show you all the evidence for he doesn't love me. But how does he love me? It'll goes on as a treasure trend. Oh, he loves me like this and he loves me like that. And oh, he just reached out and touched my hand. Oh, he kissed my neck. Oh, he said, hi, honey. Oh, he texted. Oh, look at that. He left the coffee out for me. Oh, he got out my cup. Oh, he did. Whatever we hunt for, we will find. Seek and you shall find. No seeking, no finding. So what are we seeking? And so at this point, what I'm loving, to answer your question, I'm really going to try, is I'm getting to work in a domain that I've always been committed to, but didn't have access to. And it has to do with the workplace and with business. And that people spend, I'm quoted as saying people spend more time making money than making love. And we spend more of our lives in the workplace than wherever that is, than we do with our families. Even if we're working at home, we're paying more attention to our work than our families. And so many, mostly women, but men as well, will just say, I'm just mystified. I'm very successful in my career, in my business, in my practice, right? But I don't understand why it doesn't translate to being successful in romantic relationships. And I had this realization about 2 months ago that it's an illusion, that people think they're successful in the workplace and their businesses and their practices, and that it doesn't translate to romantic relationships, but it doesn't work in the workplace either. It's just that the old paradigms of hierarchy, domination, control, because I said so, because I signed your paycheck, just do it. I'm not going to give you my information. Just do it. Why the heck didn't you do it right? Like all of that stuff that we get away with in the workplace because people are dependent. They're dependent on the paycheck, on the career path, on the promotion, on the status. So people put up with behavior that unless someone feels dependent, like we as women were for millennia, literally dependent on coupling to survive. Now that in first world countries, it's rare to be dependent. In fact, most women live longer and are better off without coupling. So we don't put up with it. We don't put up with the old paradigm. And yet we don't know how to access or create a new paradigm, the paradigm I call partnership. So what's really fun is I've been interacting with the founders of an organization called Unblinded Mastery that is really about integrous influence and honor and unconditional love in the workplace, in business. And they are proving that the levels of success that are available from that place way beyond where most people think they've reached a pinnacle. Like it's nothing compared to what can happen in the new paradigm. So that's what I'm really excited about. I'm really excited to get to have an impact and well, now all the founders are students of mine, but Sean Callaghy, who's the principal, whose formula and all his passion about integrous influence is at the heart of all this. He's been a student of mine since 2020. So I'm getting to bring what I do to have magic and miracles and intimacy and joy in our romantic relationships over into this other space that we spend so much more of our lives in. And
I love that. I think that's great. I actually wrote my master's thesis on the transformation of the paradigm in business, because my prior life, prior to stepping more into this work, was doing strategic planning. And
yes, I saw that on your thing. I was like, who is she?
Yeah. I've got this whole thing, different parts of me. Yeah, I love it.
I love it. I had a previous life too. I was the I was the chairperson of the Orange County Homeless Issues Task Force. What was the first thing I did? I led a strategic planning session, right? Founded the Orange County Summit, which was a massive strategic planning summit for hundreds of people to plan the future of children in Southern California. And yes, we have some things in common.
Yeah. And the thing I was thinking of was I can't remember the person now, but one of someone would call the different strategies or tactics love notes in their strategic plan. And I thought that was so beautiful just to have that energetic in that space, because it's so true. And I guess I also just wanted to put into the space that I'm feeling quite activated. I thought it was so funny. I was like, of course, I'm having a conflict with my partner just before I jump on the call because I was like, oh, I want to be in this really like floating place and connect on that level, but I'm feeling activated in that as well. So that's present for me.
And I want to be so serene, right? Serene and calm and be with you and not have this funky light reflecting on this funny thing back here. And yes, perfect, right? Like the perfect person, the ideal woman, have everything be perfect. Good luck with that. Yeah. My husband and I used to have a huge blowout every time, either 2 days to maybe even a few hours before I led our Understanding Love and Commitment course, where when it was live, he would have a cameo where people could come in. People could ask him questions. He was on stage beside me and they'd ask him questions because they wanted to know, like, is this for real? And so I brought the real Greg and he would answer questions. And always leading up to the workshop, huge blow-ups. Seriously?
That's a little bit what happened to me too, because I've just come back from New Zealand facilitating a training, and it's that thing like, why does that happen before and then after there's this adjustment energetics? So yeah, I think, and so on the back of that, I was curious about the energy of trust. So I hear a lot. Well, when I was engaging with your work the most, it was a lot around trying to find a partner at the time, and then now I'm in this about a year and a half. And it's this feeling of like, can I really trust? How does that sit? And not having necessarily witnessed relationships that resonated with me in my life, seeing more of them now. But my body's like in this place of, what is trust in a way? So would you be able to speak to that at all?
Oh gosh, it's one of my favorite topics. One of my very favorites because it affects everything. And it intersects with what I would call the mischief maker. But I mean big mischief maker. And so it intersects with expectations. And one of the things that I think we long for, because of how trust and safety go together, that we just long to be able to have blank trust, right? We want to be able to completely trust someone. and that sounds lovely, but because it gets mixed in with expectations, how it plays out is that I really want to be able to trust you to fulfill my expectations. I want to be able to trust you to do everything that I think you should do, even if I haven't examined my expectations to see what they're based on, where they came from. This expression popped out one day about foxtails and dog hair. I don't know if you have foxtails in any of the places that you've lived. Do you know what a foxtail is? Yeah. So if you go out on a walk in like the country, you're not looking for foxtails. You're not hoping to come back with all these pokey things stuck in your socks, but you still do. And if you sit down on a couch, you're not hoping to stand up with dog hair all over your rear end, but you still do. And expectations are like that. They're like foxtails and dog hair. They're not sourced. They're not caused. They're not thoughtful. They just have attached themselves to us. And like foxtails, which I was warned against as a child, because if you don't like check your dog for foxtails, the foxtails can work into the skin and then cause an infection and keep going and end up in the dog's heart and kill them. Yes, they're very dangerous. And that can happen to us. These expectations that they're unexamined and then they're uncommunicated, because part of an expectation is you should already know. It's obvious. And I shouldn't have to tell you. And I shouldn't have to earn it. This is obviously something that any boyfriend, husband, wife, boss, mother, father, child should know to do. Any good person knows to do this. So we don't need to talk about it. And we usually discover expectations when they're thwarted, right? When they're disappointed. Maybe even we might say betrayed. You betrayed me.
That's literally the voice inside me at the moment. I'm feeling betrayed.
You betrayed me. Yes, you betrayed me. Yeah, it can get really big. And it gets worse. Do you want me to keep going? Because it messes with trust every which way. The other thing about it, rabbits are known for being breeders, right? That they just, every time you turn around, they're having another batch and another batch and another batch. And expectations are like bunny rabbits. And so every expectation, no matter what happens to it, will breed more expectations. So someone meets your expectation, that can create the expectation that they'll always meet your expectation, or that they'll never do it again. That was obviously a one-off. That'll never happen again. So that someone's skeptical, right? Or someone disappoints your expectations. Now you have an expectation that they'll continue to disappoint you. Or, and this is an interesting one, this causes so much trouble. I don't know if it's equal within gender, but I know for sure those of us with undescended testicles, if we think that if we make sure the person knows how very upset we are with our expectation being disappointed, that if we're clear about how terrible that is and all the consequences to me, that then they'll double down to make sure that they never fail that expectation again. But that's what we think. But one of the most stunning things I learned about men is, and I learned it early on, is to them to be honorable is to do the right thing, no matter how you feel. And so to have your actions dictated by whether or not you're afraid of upsetting someone, that's dishonorable. And that's shameful. And the way the man expressed this to me said, ew, I would never do anything for that reason, and no self-respecting man would. So women are working very hard to make sure men know how disappointed we are, thinking that that's going to change them. And it does change them. It has them go away. It has them do less. Wow, I can't win with you. I'll spend my energy elsewhere. So now they really disappoint us. So then we really it is a vicious cycle. And all the way around, it's interacting with trust and destroying trust. And we want to trust men to act like a perfect woman would. We really want to so badly. And they can't. They just can't, by choice and by how they're built, how their minds work. On the other side, the good news is that if we wake up to the mischief makers, then we can start to methodically go about finding out, what can I trust this person for? And what do they want to be trusted for? What do they want to earn my trust for? What do they need me to trust them for, or they feel unseen or disrespected? What do I need to settle into trusting them for that? And if we need perfection, if we need perfect 100% behavior, we're doomed. It's amazing. Just the effect of me saying to my sweetheart, I know you never want to hurt me. And I trust that he never intends to hurt me. Ever, 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 ever. And what you did hurt my feelings. Would you say you're sorry? And the moment I say, I know you never want to hurt me, he relaxes. He feels seen. He knows he's not under attack. He knows I'm just asking him to help me. And if he can, he will. So much of our curriculum is about, what can you trust men for? And then, like, our Understanding Women course is teaching men and women, this is why women do what they do. And this is why women seem like such moving targets, because we freak men out, because they don't know we can shift from open-minded and connected and loving and nurturing to a committed state of mind, and there's a result to produce and something to get done. We have to get a destination, and I'm supposed to be married by this age. So chop, get busy and get that out of my way. And like, who is this person? Right? Because I think, is this a split personality? And we even thinking about ourselves, like, am I crazy? No. It's the way our brains are configured, and it's triggered in a particular way. And if you understand how it works, you can, as women, we can cause ourselves to be who we want to be. And men can literally, by just seeing the way we walk through a room, know which one of us are they dealing with now. And so how to approach this, and like even just teaching, like, how do you support a woman in having enough sex when she's in this state of mind? How do you approach her? And when she's in the other state of mind, how do you approach her? And they're very, very different. Do you know? One is, hi, honey. Do you think you could stop doing what you're doing so I could see how much pleasure I could have you experience in the next hour or so? Could you, like, leave the dishes? Could you leave that undone? That would be one approach. Another approach would be, I know you're really busy. Could we schedule when to have sex? And when I get there, I promise I'll be great. Oh, 3:30 tomorrow. Terrific. They both work depending on the state of mind. May I give you one thing for your partner?
Yes, please.
You have to mean it. You can't just say it while being righteous. You have to actually mean it. But one of the things that can turn the tide is just to say, can I tell you what it seemed like? Can I tell you what it seems like? And then you could clarify for me, verify and clarify. You could straighten me out, because I can't, at this moment, I can't escape my interpretation. I can't escape what it seemed like to me. And if we can come like that to each other, well, it seems like. And like when we say, especially to a man, it feels like you don't love me. They're like, I can't control how you feel. I am powerless. I cannot control how you feel. And they're mute. But if we say, it seems like you don't love me. Oh my gosh. What would have it seem that way? Like they can lean into it. They can act upon it. What can I fix? Because that's so not true. And when you're not laying it on them, like how it feels like it has to be the truth. Because that's one of the biggest ways women are tripped. We think what we feel, that these feelings 100% of the time tell us truth. And they tell us truth a lot of the time. A lot of time it's an eternal connection, but not all of the time. And so it seems like, oh my gosh, what did I do that would have it seem that way? And then we can say it. And it's like Karen in the Queen's Code, where she'd be so mad every time she came home because Mike left the garage door open. And she didn't even know how unsafe that seemed to her. She couldn't articulate what was so threatening about it. She was just really pissed. And then she finds out he hasn't left it open this whole time. He purposely got up and went out and opened it because he knew she was coming home, and he just wanted to save her a step. He just wanted to welcome her home and take care of her. And all this time she didn't know. She just reacted, would condemn him, would be walking mad every time he'd react to her being mad. He'd shut down this whole dynamic that would happen because of what it seemed like to her, that she didn't know it was a seeming. She thought it was the truth. So I just offer that to you as you go back to him. Could we try something? Can we try this new word Alison just gave me? Can I tell you what it seemed like?
Thank you so much. I receive with so much gratitude.
Okay, good. All right. What do you want to say about all that?
Oh, I had so many different things pinging off in different directions. I was like writing notes. I was like, where will I go?
Trust and expectations and being set up to win, and how much for a man to not, if you don't trust me, unless I go, you're right, I can't be trusted for that. Right? Mm-hmm. Like Dan cannot be trusted to remember details. He can't be trusted. No matter how much he cares about me, loves me, wants to give me everything I need, he can't be trusted. Easy. I ask him to do something. He says yes. I say, do you want me to text you? And he says, yes, please. I text him. Bam, I get exactly what I need. So we can even work with what someone can't be trusted for. And we can even trust, right? Like I could trust my husband to eat chocolate every day, no matter what he promised.
That would be McDonald's Sundays for my partner.
Yeah,
maybe not every day.
Yeah. So we can always trust. We just maybe don't want to be able to trust them to attack if we treat them a certain way, to trust them to shut down if we treat them a certain way. We want to trust them for the opposite. But if we pay attention to what's real, right, in our course called Lux, it's the step in a process of honoring called acknowledging. It means to admit as real. Oh, this is real. And we don't want to admit that things are real. We want things to be the way we want them to be, instead of paying attention to what's really happening. Okay, there's what someone says, and then there's what they do. That's real. Men are much better at this. And it's why women become unbelievable to men. Because we say, honey, could you put the kids to bed? I'm really tired. He says, sure. And then he takes over the kids. He's accountable. He's going to make a plan. He's going to have everything happen. And we're washing dishes and picking up the family room. We're still not in bed. And then he thinks, oh, when she says she's tired, it doesn't mean what I mean. So the next time she says, I'm really tired, could you take care of the kids? He's like, no. You're not going to go to bed. You're going to do all this other stuff. So why should I stop what I'm doing to take care of the kids when you're not going to take advantage of the gift? So yes, so we become, we literally become not a trusted source of information about ourselves.
Mm.
And then when we tell them something that's true for us and they don't believe us, we are so mad. But we're so pissed. But we don't know we caused it. But like when men find out that for a woman to go to sleep, we can't just lie down and go to sleep. We have to do all these things to quiet our minds, quiet our environments, how to get a woman in bed, make the bed.
Because I think that's like often for me where conflict arises is like the amount of energy. It's like I'm aware of how much energy I need to be really present and what I need to do to prepare that prior. So if the plans change or there's no clarity around that, it's like this thing inside of me is like, now I don't know like how to organize all of that in terms of arriving in this space I want to be arriving in.
Oh my gosh, it's so funny. We could go anywhere. I got really disrupted. Was it this morning? I forget when it was. Something happened. And I felt fractured, right? And I had a little tiny space. And Dan and I do this thing every day called a lay down. So even if it's only 15 minutes, we just go lay down. We hold each other. Maybe we talk, maybe we don't. But we just, all's right in the world. And so this morning, we normally lay down in the afternoon. This morning I said, could we lay down now? And he's like, sure. So we go and lay down and we're lying on his bed because we don't have the same bedroom. We have different bedrooms because I don't sleep well and I need my own space, a lot of quiet time. But I said, let's lay down in your bedroom because there's nothing for me to do in his bedroom. I'm not accountable for his bedroom. I don't care what a mess it is. It's not my bedroom. So he laid down and we're lying there and I said, could we chant? He goes, I don't know. Could we try? And we've never chanted together. Ever. In 4 years, we've never chanted together. And so he's lying there and I'm trying to chant with him, but he breathes faster than I do. So we're going, Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om. It worked like a miracle. I did it one extra, just in case, just for good measure. It took maybe 6 of them. And that was it. Yay for neural pathways. And that is the trick is like before I came on with you and I was, completely wound up. So do you know the prayer of St. Francis?
No, I don't.
I'm not Catholic. I'm not even a traditional Christian. But I love the prayer for St. Francis, and Sarah McLachlan sings it. And so I just put it on repeat, and I'm putting on my makeup and I'm drying my hair. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace.
That's the same prayer I was saying just internally to myself. I was like, right, let me be a vessel for whatever needs to come through because I was in that state. So that's so funny. My brain was going in this direction, but that the same teachings that you share have definitely infused the way I relate with clients, male clients, and that listening deeper and for longer. And I can see the shift in the change. So on that level, I guess for practitioners, then what would you think for us to do that listening could be helpful?
This is one of the areas I've been passionate for, it'll be 5 years, going on 5 years now, is that most human beings pay so much more attention to speaking than anything else. What should I say? What should I say? What should I say? Okay, I want to say the right thing. Oh, I didn't say the right thing. How do I say that better? If we pay closer attention, if we look closer, how we're being, is so much louder than what we're saying. And in fact, when there's a disconnect between what we're saying and how we're being, we're like, well, it sounds good, but it doesn't feel right. Right? They're suspicious when they're incongruent. And like the energy of manipulation, all the right words, but the energy of, I'm going to get you to do this. The moment. So how do I use what I'm learning in the Queen's Code to get my boyfriend to do this? Like, well, first of all, don't.
That was the trouble I had with it initially, I think, because I went into that mode. Like there was this aspect of like sort of playing with it and then seeing the reaction, but then going into that mode and then it feeling yuck in my body to be doing that, but then confused because I was like, I can tell the difference, but then I'm getting results I want, but doesn't feel right.
Well, the way I came to think of it, what I discovered is that everything lives in both domains. So everything lives in the domain of survival, instincts, normal. I would say human instincts, but some of our instincts are primordial. They are not human at all. We have herd instincts, pack instincts. We behave like bacteria. I mean, it's not evolved. But it also exists over in human spirit, conscious choice, partnership, oneness. We're in this together. We have no other choice, right? This is adversarial, you or me. But everything exists in both places. And if people take what I work on, which is all about partnership, and they try to use it in this domain, it will kind of work, but not for very long, because people aren't stupid. And men, even though we think they're stupid and are easily manipulated, they're actually not. They can see manipulation coming a mile away. They just go along with it because what they're getting out of it is worth it. It's transactional. The first 6 months I was studying men and just amazed at what I learned about them, I didn't realize I was using it against men. I was using it to manipulate them more and even hurt them more until I got called on it. And that's when I laid down my sword, like the Queen's Code invites people to do. And I say people because there are men who are giving up. They're giving up the right to emasculate. They're giving up the right to objectify. They are giving up disempowering other people. It's so exciting to watch, which would be the other thing I'm really excited about, is how the Queen's Code has become part of the men's movement. And they're understanding themselves differently and their motivations. And my goal is that they become impervious to being diminished through compassion.
What does impervious mean?
Impervious, unaffected, unaffected by. So that when a woman's attacking them, trying to diminish them and take their power, that he sees fear and frustration. It's just so obvious. And so the attack just bounces off. And instead he can lean into it and go, it seems like there's something you need from me that I don't know. Could we pause and you just try to tell me? I'll do my best if I can give it to you. But just like, if we can see fear and frustration, everything is different. If we can see in men how hard they're trying to protect us, how hard they're trying to provide for us, but they haven't a clue what we really need. We can see the intent, right? And it doesn't, there are bad men and there are bad women. The intent is frightening. It's terrifying, the intent. If you want to have a conversation about evil, we can go there too. There are evil people, and men and women have an equal capacity for it. Yeah. But it's such a small percentage. They just are prolific. They just are relentless. One bad person can literally harm 1,000 people in a year or more, right? So it seems much more.
Mm.
But if we can see that small percentage, and the way Wenman put it, he said you can't tell the difference between a wolf and a sheepdog if all you're looking for is teeth. Yeah. And we look at men and we see teeth. We see how much stronger they are than us. They can force us to do anything. It's right why we were so excited about guns and martial arts, right? And how many movies there are about women who, just try me. I will mess you up.
Yeah. But I think
Yeah.
also one of the things that surprised me once I started examining my own behavior was, oh my God, I've been really abusive. And like, because of some of those attitudes that were like underlying, and then looking at what I was doing and the outcomes, I was like, oh, it's almost shocked at my behavior from when I was younger towards men. And it came from a place of like, I'm going to screw you before you screw me, sort of energetics because of past harm from my like really earlier high school type relationships. So I was like, oh my gosh.
Yes.
And that still arises sometimes, even because you're talking and I'm like, yes, I'm totally in accordance. And then it's like, but I slip into some of that pain sometimes without even realizing it.
Yes, and it doesn't even have to be personal. I mean, we have ancestral fear, and as human beings, do you know the word precocial? So most people know it from maybe being a child and being called precocious. My, aren't you precocious? But the word precocial means that you're born with everything you need to survive. So I learned it from natural horsemanship. And baby horses, within minutes of being born, they stand up. Within a half an hour, they can run. Within 3 days, they have teeth. They can eat grass. And the things they learn in the first 3 days of their life, they remember till the end of their life. They're born with everything they need to survive. We are not. We can't even lift our heads. The only muscles we have in our back to lift our head this way to maybe not suffocate. That's the only muscles we have. And I get to observe this and learn this all over because my grandson is 8 months old. And I got to watch him right from the moment he was born. And so human beings are born with the fear of abandonment. We are terrified of being abandoned. And we don't have to ever have experienced being abandoned to be terrified of being abandoned. It's built in. The compulsion to be pleasing, the compulsion to accommodate, the compulsion to fit in. We do a whole program in this called Freedom from Being Ordinary, because there are instincts that drive human behavior that predate humanity. And we don't even know it. They're part of the paradigm: scarcity, competition, threats. And then there's something that I could, by the way that you spoke, I was like, oh, good. Because you just said harm. There was harm without any details. Because we're also built to learn from others. Right? So when someone shares a victory and gives you details of how they accomplished it, we're listening for how to succeed, how to make the most of an opportunity. Because if you don't, you could die, right? Not enough calories. But if someone shares something bad that happened and they give details, we listen as if it happened to us. We are imprinted by what happened to them as if it happened to us, as if their harm was our harm, so that we can prevent it from happening. But we don't even know. These are not gifts that we're giving to each other when we go into detail. And it's like we have this lockdown. We have a course called Understanding Sex and Intimacy. And no one ever gets to tell trauma stories. No.
Yeah.
Something bad happened. I got into a situation I couldn't handle. Just like, that's all. And we heal, we release, we recover, we try to look at it and see maybe we interpreted it different than what was really happening.
Oh, I love that. I think I intrinsically have that viewpoint about past things that have happened, but I haven't heard anyone articulate it in that way. I'll sometimes bring up things to relate if it's relevant, if someone's telling me something, and I'll be like, I've been there. I understand that.
We'll connect, right? Well, we can connect. And that's important. Safety, as herd animals, safety lies in connection. We have a course called Extreme Freedom because I don't think a human being can be harmed permanently. I don't think we can be damaged. And so it's all about restoration and what restoration requires. There's a whole section on that part of what restoration requires is letting go of the benefits of our injuries and even the benefits of our shame. And one of the benefits of our injuries, there's actually a competition for the highest status, for the most injured, the most horribly damaged person. And if we restore ourselves, we're not welcome in a wound community. If you've healed yourself from any type of wound, you're not welcome there anymore. You don't belong. And so we have to be willing to give up belonging. You know, when my husband died, I was 58 years old, and I lived in a rural place where there were a lot of widows. I hadn't counted them, but I knew there were a lot. And I was like, wow, I can be part of the widow group now. And then the mind was like, well, I'm only 58. I must be a young widow. So I Googled average age of widows in the US, 59. Like, well, I wouldn't even be special. Oh, our minds, what they come up with. Cuckoo, right? And then, of course, since my husband left his body but didn't leave me and stayed in communication and kept providing for me, and he'd always wanted me to remarry, and he was sending men. He was like, how about this one? How about this one? And it's like, oh, honey, okay. Can we work on this part? And so he did another, and the upgrade and the upgrade. And when Dan showed up 4 years ago, I just said it in the first 15 minutes because I said, did Valerie tell you that I'm widowed? Because I don't call myself a widow. I've been widowed, and I try not to objectify. It's a killer. And I said, did Valerie tell you that I'm widowed? And he said yes. And I'm very sorry for your loss. And I said, thank you. And you should know that my husband is very much a part of my life, and he probably picked you. And there's this long silence, and in my head, and I recommend this to men and women everywhere, in my head, I'm thinking, if you're going to run now. If I can, right? If you would leave over this, leave before I care. If you're going to run now. And there's this long silence, and he went, I can feel him. Nice energy.
I love that. That's so the best response.
Oh my gosh, he's the best. And we were teasing. A few weeks ago, we were teasing that we didn't mean to be polyamorous, but in reality, we're this really odd threesome. We were laughing about it. And yeah, so, but I had a hard time. Like, how am I going to fit in with the widows when I can't grieve the way you're supposed to grieve? Because I could feel my husband's joy and pure exhilaration at being free of a body that was always too clunky, too slow, right? So I rode motorcycles really fast. And he was so happy to be free of it. And okay, so how can I boohoo myself when I want him to be happy? And he's happy, so happy. So didn't really ever fit in with the widow group. So I found widows whose husbands are still present. Just took a while.
Thank you for all of that. And I'm aware of our time, but I also want to ask you, is there anything on your heart? I'm so grateful for you, your energy that you've shared and I've felt. And my heart feels calmer from our time together as well, from how I arrived. So deep gratitude for that. Is there anything that's sitting with you to share as we wind up?
I am grateful for what you do. And most people don't think of me as a healer. And I don't like healer as an objectifier, right? I think healing is a human capacity. And the people that we call healers they just have a genius, a brilliance for different healing modalities that facilitate what people are committed to. And if someone isn't committed to being restored, they won't be. You have the most brilliant healer on the planet, and they won't be able to do anything because human will is so powerful. It's the most powerful. And one time I was interacting with someone who it's this thing that's been happening since the beginning of there are people who come to me and said, I've been assigned to you. And yeah, I've been assigned to me. This is a God job. I'm assigned to you. And they have contributed to me in such amazing ways. And one woman, her name is Denise Lynn, and she's in the East Coast. And I just felt so lonely. I just really, really lonely. And she just looked at me, she said, Alison, they couldn't put all the lighthouses on one street. They're just like, okay. We're not meant to cluster. We're not meant to hole up in a community with just each other. But it's what I love about the internet, right? There's never been a better time to be a messenger, and there's never been a better time to connect with like-hearted and like-minded people, and we can have lighthouse conventions from all over the world.
Yeah, and we actually used it when we were closing our training just last weekend or the weekend before. We were like, it's really cool not to be a lighthouse anymore, but to be a light marae, which is our meeting houses. So, and marae are these places of gathering where you come and you stay for whatever time that the training is or whatever, and then you go. And so it's like we're this light marae where all the people are come in and rejuvenate.
Say that word again. What is that word you're saying?
It's marae. So it's a each land group in Aotearoa, New Zealand, which is where my name's from and where I'm from.
Yes.
And where we did the training, it has like a meeting house, marae. Yeah.
Yes. Marae.
So it's a forehead. It's a building and a gathering place and a piece of land. Yeah.
That's
so
wonderful.
it's like where these light, and I was like, that was the vision I was getting after that training and what I closed it with. So I love that full circle.
Yeah, we used to have a program where we taught people from all walks of life how to teach our material in where they wanted to, combined with where they were. And at one point I just looked around and went, oh my gosh, this is a lighthouse convention. And they literally came from all over the world. So we had a Mad-Eye in, a Hilton hotel. and then they would go back. And so that's just what I express. Thank you. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for how you empower others. Thanks for being you. I love being here. I would be with you again anytime in a heartbeat. Just ask.
I'm gonna hold you to that. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
and for all your wisdom, the known and unknown that you've given me, and I'm so grateful for what my life is because of many of the things, and getting to experience listening to your work with my partner and learning from him by him responding to what you're sharing as well. So thank you so much.
Beautiful. Until next time, I'm not saying goodbye to you. I'm sorry.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Mwah!
Mwah.